been called because we've had the opportunity to put in a bid to Dewlock for an extension on the exempt accommodation pilot that took place. So they're inviting us to bid early for £2 million, which in effect is a lot less. Although it's a lot more, it's more money than it was the first time that we got it, but it's for a shorter period of time, longer period of time. So this is for 3 years. And I'm taking that it's been read by everybody, and I would hope that we do get to approve this. This work that we've done through the funding that we've had previously has helped us tremendously look at exempt accommodation and new solutions that we can look at in terms of locally, and also bringing together different teams, which has also resulted in inspections and us clawing back over £3 million worth of housing benefit in overpayments. So this is very worthwhile. We've also seen the rollout of the Charter of Rights and the Quality Assurance Framework, and we're really keen to see more work continue. So I would ask that we approve that we can bid and get the money for this. And if there's any questions, then I'm happy to take them.
Sharon? Ewan?
Yes, thanks very much, Chair. And yeah, we welcome anything to improve the situation around exempt accommodation in the city. I think as a group we've been doing on our bit to be calling on both government and the council to be doing more in this area. Years, if Councillor Walden wasn't at the LGA conference, he would be sat here saying the same thing at the moment. And I think it has been acknowledged that by his position on the LGA, he has been trying to do his best to try and get the situation improved as much for everyone as we can. I think I'm pleased to see that obviously the government are offering this grant. I think the only way to solve this is for the council and the government to work together. I don't think this is a solution that can only ever be handled by one department, and I agree completely that the gold standard is something we need to be aiming for. I think that what I don't want to say, I think we had the inquiry here that was chaired by former councillor Carl Rice. I think that was one of these sort of uplifting inquiries you can be on. It was completely cross-party. I think there was no sort of, what's the phrase, fag paper between any of us. I think it worked quite well. I think Carl was even asking me on occasions to ask some of the questions, because obviously some of the questions he's checked couldn't quite ask. So of course it's quite helpful if you've got members of the opposition who can there quite willing to ask the question for you. And I think there's goals where we need to be going. And if the funding isn't available from the government for the gold offer, which I hope it will be, that the council can then carry on and go alone on that scenario forward the uplift. I can remember from the scrutiny inquiry that Councillor Rice himself made the point that when it came to the pilot, there were certain things that the council were doing that he and the members of the panel couldn't believe that we'd wait for the pilot for that to happen. You know, there's some fairly basic stuff that wasn't being done. And when he asked why it wasn't being done previously, it's because no one had really looked at it. So the thrust of what I'm saying here is that I'm supportive of the government, the government's money that's coming through. I'm supportive of the council looking to get as much money as it can from the government. And if any of that money falls forward at the gold level, we would be supportive of the council using its reserves to try and make up that funding to try and have the best outcome that we have. Because if we don't do that, I feel that the cost for the council will be greater, because even though it came out in scrutiny that some of the departments to do with the pilot had increased, there was increased cost for that department. But overall, the cost for the overall council for some of the problems caused by exempt accommodation is greater than those costs. So sometimes it might be a false economy to not go all the way to gold. But us as a group are willing to do anything that we can to help the government, help the council get as much money as possible out of the government. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, back to you, Sharon.
First of all, I'm sure the Prime Minister is really pleased to hear that you're supportive of the government.
Well, it's not taken as a given these days.
But I'm pleased that there's cross-party support when it comes to exempt accommodation. Birmingham, although we have significant challenges in terms of the numbers, I think Birmingham have been the authority that have really been pushing nationally for this in terms of local government. I agree that the council and the government do need to work together on this, and we have been working with the government in terms of the pilot report of the local authorities to help find solutions, and invited the select committee to Birmingham to see what's happening here. And also I wrote with Andy Street as well to the select committee chair. I just want to be clear that regardless of whether we get money or not from the government, there is an absolute need for structural changes in terms of national policy. So that's a given. And it is for councils to work with the government, but it's also, we cannot forget the social housing regulator, who are the ones that currently have powers in terms of the legislation when it comes to exempt accommodation. And having the work that we have done in Birmingham, we have seen actually it's not just those two, but it's also the police are having significant challenges in terms of their resources. The ambulance services are in the same space. So there's a huge need for the government to also engage with the health sector a lot more when it comes to exempt accommodation, particularly around support and care. So yes, we're really keen for this to continue. The work that's taken place in Birmingham is not just a testament to our officers, and it is, and I just want to thank them for that, cross-party support, but also to the residents across the city who came together in a pilot forum and has been working alongside us. I think it's really important that we acknowledge those as well. So yes, I'm happy for us to, if we can, approve this. That will be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I'll wait for you to approve it, and then I'll come back on the other point that I want to make, if that's okay, Chair.
Okay, the recommendations are set out in 2.1 to 2.4. Are those agreed?
Agreed, yeah.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is other urgent business.
It's not urgent business, but I do want to just say that I know that today's meeting has been primarily set up because we don't want a late report coming to Cabinet. But I just want to highlight the constraints around what's happened in this particular scenario. The government have given us a 5-day turnaround to submit a bid, and we want to put in the strongest bid possible, the best bid that we can put in. But because of the council's governance structure, we have now had to divert officers to write a report for this meeting and get all the approvals, which means that moves them away from some of the work that they could have been doing in making sure that they've got the best bid possible. Now, I can imagine that this is going to happen again because often central government give us very short deadlines. So I'm really urging the council to look at a better sort of system and look at the governance around this, because it's not always going to be possible for officers to turn it around, a bid in such short period of time, and also do a report for us and also get it through clearance. It's taken a lot of work for people like Guy Chaundy and Julie and others that have been working on this. And I just think we need to recognise that, because our structure shouldn't be aimed at, although it's important, I'm never running away from governance, our structures shouldn't be in a way that's going to obstruct officers from getting the job done.
Thanks, Sharon. And I know Satinder has been noting those points, and we'll certainly convey them back to the group leaders as well. Okay, I think that then concludes the business of today's special meeting. So thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you. So I'm going to